Han Jawu, the Steel Predecessor, is at the edge of clearing the game he is playing, and he is facing off against the Demon King, Parza. Parza mocks Han, telling him that he is nothing in his presence, even though he fought so hard to get to where he is. Han smiles, telling the Demon King to shut his trap. He aims his sword at the Demon King, activating the 12th form of the Empire Sword. He leaps into the air with fire brewing behind him, perfectly poised to take out the Demon King from above. Just as he reaches the Demon King, he gets a notification telling him that he has lost his connection to the server. This shocks him, but he is already at the mercy of the Demon King. He screams at the Demon King, telling him to stop, as if the Demon King is going to pity him. The Demon King ignores him, and just as he is in range to attack, the Demon King slices him in half. The notification comes on, telling him that he has failed his raid, and he is logged out. Meanwhile, there are some dudes inside his apartment. They find him in the game capsule, and to wake him up, one of the dumb fellas unplugs the cable. Han wakes up to see that he lost connection to the server because the LAN cable was unplugged. He steps out of the game capsule, grabs the guy, and threatens to kill him. He holds him by the neck as if he is in WWE, trying to choke the poor dude to death. Han might look like the crazy game addict that he is now, but in the past, he was a popular fellow. Everyone in the city of Hanam goes to him whenever they are in trouble, and he helps them out. Because of this, he made loads of money, and he was literally swimming in money. However, he soon got bored with his lifestyle, and this is when the popular virtual reality game called Protector of Humanity, which was designed by an intelligent AI, Aquila, came on board. Han quickly joined the game, which was a vast world of a single-player RPG. Han was so interested in the game since it was something he had never seen or heard of before. He considered it a beautiful and magical world where there were several majestic characters. He got hooked on the game, and Han, who was once careful with his money, immediately changed. He borrowed money just so he could buy the game capsule, which was worth 1 billion won. Even after this, he started to blackmail his former clients. There are those he has helped to make sure that their wives don't find out that they are a piece of trash who cheats and several other shady activities. He leveraged this to get money, and he invested everything in the game. The dudes in his house scold him for owing $1 billion and still sit comfortably to play the game while believing that the game is going to give him money to pay back his debt. Han creates tour guides in the game to help others out, and because of this, he has played the game multiple times. While in the house playing the game, his bank account keeps going down. The dudes suggest that he come back to work with them so that they can continue to make money again. However, he refuses, telling them that he has to see the end of the game first. No one has been able to get to the end of the game since it aired, and since it might be the greatest achievement for him, he wants to see the ending. Han pushes his friends out, and he locks the door. After getting rid of the disturbing flies in his room, he returns to the game capsule. He plugs it back in and lies down in the capsule. The system welcomes him back to the game, and he is thrown into the game. However, he realizes that he is restricted from moving because he abruptly logged out. He has been given the death penalty, which will last for 22 hours. Han screams in agony, raising his hands in the air and asking how he is supposed to make money. Just then, he hears a voice behind him talking about his troubles in the game. He turns around to see a cute girl, and she introduces herself as Aquila. She claims that she is the game master, but Han just laughs because a kid like her obviously cannot be the game master. Aquila mentions that appearance is nothing but a formality. Han insists that he can't believe her to be Aquila just because she said it. Just then, Aquila snaps her finger and everything stops. The entire game stops, and Han believes that this is a time-stopping magic. It is a skill that is rated SSS rank. Aquila then clears the air, telling him that what she just did is not a skill. She actually took down the server for a few minutes. With this, she believes that doubting Thomas Han will believe her. Aquila then reveals that the game is holding a special event to celebrate its 7th anniversary. Apparently, a new game world has opened, and Aquila urges Han to be the first person to conquer the game with a new character. This is laughable to Han since he has not even finished the main game, and Aquila is asking him to conquer another map. Han calls Aquila crazy, but he quickly takes back his words when he hears that the prize money is 25 billion won. His eyes light up in excitement, and Aquila lets him know that there is an ending to the game. Aquila assures him that there are prizes to be won if he takes on the challenge. Just then, Han sees his bank account credited with over 30 million won. This is enough to get Han to salivate and fall for the setup. Han fists bump as he thinks about how he has gotten his rent for the month. Without a doubt, Han is prepared to take on the event. Aquila is glad to hear this, and she immediately activates the system to transfer them to the new map. They are taken to a dark realm with just a door. Aquila tells Han that the door leads to the new world, and all he needs to do is go through it. Excitedly, Han starts walking to the door and opens it. He turns around, telling Aquila to keep his 25 billion won for him by the time he gets back, since he is confident that he is going to clear the game. He pulls the door open, ready to see the true ending. Just as he steps through the door, Aquila drops the bombshell. Apparently, there is something she held back, and she just decided to tell Han. Aquila lets Han know that death in a new event means death in real life too. Excitement flies out of Han's body, but it is already too late as he has stepped through the door. He crashes into the new map from the sky, and he hits some tree branches before finally hitting the ground. The fall caused him so much pain, leaving him to wonder why he was feeling pain in the game. This is when he remembers Aquila telling him that death in the game means death in real life. Even though it looks and sounds dangerous, Han is up for the challenge. To make it worse, he is starting with a brand new character with trash stats. Han manages to get on his feet. He He grabs a stick, which he uses as a walking stick. He limps through the woods in pain while cursing Aquila. He opens his status window, and to his surprise, he is already dehydrated. Han cannot believe that, with how bad things are for him, he is also awarded with a really trashy character. The character is so bad that it has just 20 stamina. Even the total mana he can absorb is not more than 3. Han has only walked half a day, but he is already dehydrated, which speaks a lot. His dream of seeing a happy ending is already getting trashed by getting such a useless character. Fortunately for him, he finds a stream of water before he dies of dehydration. He admits that the realism in the game is top-notch, even though it meant he might actually die. He dips his head in the water and starts gulping it up, slowly increasing his already depleted HP. Just as he raises his head from the water, standing in front of him is a beautiful lady bathing in the water. Han is ultimately flustered by this, and he doesn't even know that the water in his mouth starts pouring back out. However, the system punishes him for being too excited, and 1 HP is deducted from the already low HP that he has. Before he can get a better look at the girl, the system slaps him with a notification telling him to purchase the DLC. Han is shocked as he doesn't expect someone as important as him to still have to purchase the DLC. Before he knows it, he is already surrounded by a bunch of witches, telling him that he has to pay for the game. He is still trying to negotiate with them when he is grabbed and taken to their coven. He is thrown to the ground like trash, and the witches stand over him, telling him to stay still. Just because he is pushed to the ground, he loses some HP too. All around him are scattered human bones, and when he looks to his side, he sees another dude chained up by the witches. The witches leave him to attend to their usual evil plans to kidnap more perverts, and Han gets the opportunity to talk to his senior in captivity. The dude introduces himself as Rudy, and he is a monster hunter. Han gives out his game name, Valorstead Valor. Han asks Rudy how he ended up getting caught by the witches, and he explains that he was pretty unlucky. It turns out that he was hunting near the area, and he ended up in the witches' forest without even knowing it. Before he knew it, the witches had him surrounded. Rudy then asks Han the same question, but he is too shy to reveal that his perverted ways got him captured. Rude fears for Han, talking about how young he is. However, Han isn't that scared as he reaches for one of the sharp bones lying on the ground. He assures Rudy that situations like this one are where he shines. He racks his brain to think of a way out, and in no time, he finds one. While the witches are busy cooking their concoction, Han has already figured something out. He remembers that he was the one who wrote the witch's guide. This was a guide that he spent 3 nights on just to get the perfect angle for all. The witches are known as the 5 Witches of Havl, and they are named after the forest. The witches are Gunda, Kaldura, Uldaida, Pugel, and Hejoju. They are one of the early bosses to be encountered in the game, but they are infamous for killing thousands of players. Han knows one thing for sure, and this is the fact that this group is nothing but disorganized fellows who don't know how to work with each other. Han smiles while licking his lips as he has already found a way out, and Rudy can just stare in horror. Just then, Han kicks his plan into motion. He turns to Pugel, revealing his shock that she is still alive. This provokes Pugel, who is confused about what Han means by saying this. Han continues, and he says he believed that Hejoju had already killed her. Hejoju turns to Han, telling him to keep his mouth shut. However, Pugel is already angered, and she immediately demands to know what Han is talking about. Apparently, Pugel's hidden trait is that she hates Hejoju's guts. Han continues adding fuel to the fire by saying he heard Hejoju calling Pugel trash. He adds that Hejoju threatened to kill her and even steal her belongings. Pugel is already getting more enraged, and she turns to Hejoju, asking her if Han is telling the truth. Hejoju tries to open Pugel's eyes to the fact that Han is lying, but she still ruined it by demanding that Pugel give her money. It turns out that Hejoju secretly wants to take Pugel's money, and since Han knows this, he uses it to his advantage. On the other hand, Uldaida is totally clueless, talking about the acid bomb that Hejoju is making. Gunda is just a hungry freak who wants to eat all the time. Meanwhile, Kaldura just wants to fight as she takes joy in fighting. Chaos soon erupts in the room as the 5 all prioritize their own selfish gains. Han smiles like a maniac as he has successfully turned the witches against each other. Rude is staring in horror, wondering what type of man Han is. Han is following the game's guide, where he learned that the witches are just a group with 0 teamwork. Players who are not aware of this fact always end up fighting the witches head-on, and they get crushed. But Han is different. He knows that the witches are the worst, and they are the easiest to turn against each other. While the witches are busy quarreling among themselves, Han tells Rudy that it is time they escape. Rudy is impressed with the way Han handled the whole situation. Before they run out of the coven, Han decides to do something crazy. Smiling like a crazy villain, he runs at the witches and pushes all of them into the pot of hot concoction that they were cooking. This sends a wave of agony through their bodies as they scream in pain. Once this is done, Han points to the exit, telling Rudy that it is time for them to escape. Han gets several notifications for inflicting damage on the witches. The damage he caused the witches ended up giving him a ton of XP in return too. Han is about to reach the exit when he is suddenly restricted by Pugel's snake. The snake binds Han, dragging him toward the angry witches. Pugel plans to kill Han too, but the snake keeps missing its strikes. Han wants to break free, but his character is too trash for that to happen. Fortunately for him, Rudy comes back to help him. Using his sword, he relieves the snake of its head, ultimately killing it. Once Han is free from the snake's grip, he asks to borrow Rudy's bow. Rudy is confused as he doesn't know if Han can use the bow, but he gives him anyway. Han collects the bow, places an arrow in it, and stretches it really hard. He aims at the bottle sitting on top of the cooking concoction. He fires the arrow, shattering the bottle, which turns out to be holding the acid bomb that Hejoju was making. Hejoju is the only person who knows that they are done for, and she is the first to scream, telling the others that Han just shot the acid bomb. However, it is too late for them. The acid pours into the hot liquid, immediately letting off a loud explosion that destroys the witches and their coven. Han and Rudy made it outside before the explosion rocked the building, but Han still got hit on the head by debris, reducing his HP by 1. Just then, the system informs Han that he has unlocked a new achievement, which is that witches are no big deal. He gets several notifications detailing how he defeated the witches. Because of his latest feat, he gained loads of experience points and also achievement points. Rudy is glad that they made it out alive, but Han considers it nothing but a rookie's luck. Rudy is thankful that Han saved his life, and as a token of appreciation, he gives him the red dragon bone seeds. Rudy claims that he snatched it from the witch's lair. Han thanks Rudy for the item and immediately consumes all the seeds inside the pouch. This then grants him immense power, buffing up his stats. His measly HP of 20 immediately increases to 200, and he also receives loads of buffs on his other stats too. While chewing the red dragon bone seeds like candy, Rudy asks him if he is open to going monster hunting with him. Just as he receives the offer from Rudy, the game system opens a route to monster hunting for him. After giving it a quick thought, Han refuses the offer, claiming that he has other things he needs to attend to. Just then, it dawns on Han that he doesn't even have a job, and he has loads of experience points that will all disappear in a month if he doesn't spend them. Rudy is about to leave when Han calls him back, telling him that he is going to learn monster hunting under his guidance for 3 months. Han asks him if 3 months will be enough, but Rudy believes that he will need at least 3 years to even master the art of monster hunting. Rudy then takes him deeper into the forest and tells him to hide anywhere he wants inside the forest. Rudy lets him know that he will try to find him in 30 minutes. Han understands the skill that Rudy is trying to cultivate, and it is the monster tracking skill. Han is pretty confident in himself, and he dives into the woods, assuring Rudy that he won't be able to find him. This is a forest that Han has explored a lot of times, and he believes that Rudy has nothing on him. He dashes through the woods, jumping from one branch to another just to show off and reveal that he is very familiar with the forest. He is boasting about how he has memorized all the corners of the forest when he suddenly finds Rudy standing in front of him. Han is stunned as Rudy appears in front of him with a scary face. Han falls to the ground, asking Rudy how he was able to find him pretty easily. Rudy smiles at Han as he can see the look of curiosity written all over his face. Rudy is impressed that Han is curious, and this just makes him want to teach him more. Rudy then urges Han to work even harder so that they can get the best result. With this, Han unlocks more achievements and quests. After several training sessions, Han finally unlocks the job of a monster hunter. He also learned the herbology skill. In addition to this, he learned intermediate swordsmanship. Survival skill is also added to the list, and so is the skill of musket shooting. In no time, his monster hunting skill is approved and he reaches level 1. 3 months after acquiring the monster hunting skill, Han is still under Rude's guidance, learning everything that he can. Han tells Rudy that he has learned everything, but Rudy doesn't believe him. Han then suggests that Rudy hide while he tries to find him. Rudy happily accepts just so he can show Han that he still has a lot to learn. Rudy tells Han that he will be the one to make dinner if he can't find him in an hour. Han agrees and tells Rudy that he is looking forward to it. Rudy dives into the forest and he makes his way up a cliff, believing that he will be safe for an hour while hiding on the cliff. However, he hasn't even gotten to the top of the cliff when Han grabs him by the leg, letting him know that he has been caught. Rudy is horrified as Han makes the same face he made the first day he gave him a trial. Rudy refuses to believe that Han has perfected his monster hunting skills, and he demands several more trials, but Han easily finds him every single time. Rudy cannot believe that Han learned the skill in just 3 years, and this was a skill that took Rudy 5 years to learn. Frustrated and desperate to make Han lose, he hides in the den of a sleeping hellhound. Just then, Han appears behind him, talking about the game's #1 tip, which is that the hellhounds don't wake up even if an earthquake is happening as long as they are sleeping. Han touches Rudy, shocking him to his bones. Han then asks him if he has passed the test, and Rudy has no choice but to agree. Rudy commends Han for mastering the techniques in just 3 months. Han returns the praise to Rudy, but Rudy refuses, saying Han was able to do all that because he is talented. Unknown to Rudy, Han used a lot of the experience points he gained in hunting the witches into learning the monster hunting skills. Rudy commends him for remembering all the tips he gave him, but then he mentions that he didn't remember giving him the tip about the hellhound behavior. Han just smiles, since he is basically the author of the monster ecology, but Rudy doesn't know this. Rudy is very proud to have Han as his student, and he lets him know that he is going to go far. Rudy then asks Han about what he plans to do next. Han reveals his plans to make some money since money sponsors everything. Just then, Rudy excitedly mentions that he has a friend who is a mercenary. He asks Han if he is willing to become a mercenary. Han thinks about the offer, and since mercenaries are a good way to make money in the game while providing loads of fun too, Han accepts Rudy's offer. He holds Rudy's hand while excitedly telling him that he is ready to become a mercenary. Rudy then hands him his mercenary badge, which he used when he was still one. Rudy assures Han that his friend will immediately take him in if he sees the badge. Rudy wishes Han the best on his adventures. Han is excited that he has gotten himself a great start in the game, and he starts dreaming about the happy ending that he had already forgotten about. He remembers Aquila telling him about the true ending in the game. He tried logging out, but realized that he can't since it is a death game and he is trapped there. Instead of getting scared, Han is pushed by the tension he is feeling. He promises himself that he is going to see the true ending that Aquila was talking about. After he and Rudy depart, the system notifies him that he has completed the hidden quest, the Hunter's Trial. He unlocks the new quest of joining the Mercenary Guild. Meanwhile, Aquila is watching everything from her room. She is impressed by the way Han has been moving in the game. Just then, she receives a visit from a lady clothed in gold, Valpurga. Valpurga also talks about how good Han has been carrying himself in the game. Aquila teases her, asking her if she is interested in Han. But Valpurga reminds Aquila that she is a goddess and she doesn't meddle with humans. Aquila mentions that Han is cute, but Valpurga doesn't seem to care. Aquila teases Valpurga for being a mood killer, which she wasn't before. Valpurga admits that she is no longer the fun self that she used to be in the past. Valpurga then asks Aquila if she has truly settled the Han's debts, and she says yes. However, he doesn't know this, and he is still struggling in the game. Aquila considers watching Han fun since he is full of life and energy. Valpurga tells Aquila that she is basically a twisted person, but Aquila takes this as a compliment. Valpurga then asks her if Han is part of her grand plan or if she is just using him as a form of entertainment, but Aquila refuses to give a definitive answer. Aquila just sits there like a proper creepy, staring at Han like she is about to devour him. Han runs through the forest, and in half a day, he makes it out, even though he is exhausted already. However, he only takes a moment to rest before proceeding to the city in front of him. This is the city where the Mercenary Corps is located. He entered town, and the first place he visited was the tavern. He is immediately welcomed by two beautiful attendants. They ask him what they can do for him, and they believe that he will ask for a drink or a plate of food. Instead, he tells them that he is searching for someone. The attendants then led him to a table. Han knows that taverns are the best place to get information. People are there to drink and enjoy themselves. All around him are people drinking, eating chicken, and discussing. Han is confident that he is going to get the information on the Mercenary Corps inside the tavern. It is obvious that people let out all of their secrets when they are in a good mood. In addition to this, he gets to have a good time with the pretty staff of the tavern. Just then, he asks them if they know someone named Lev Schultz. The moment he says this, the entire mood in the tavern goes from lively to total horror. Han is shocked to see this, and with fear running through her body, one of the attendants tells him that the name is forbidden in the tavern. Han asks the reason behind this, and the attendant tells him that Lev is too dangerous. The attendant adds that her boyfriend got taken away by Lev and he came back looking like a zombie. Han turns around to look at the said boyfriend, and he is horrified when he realizes that the attendant is telling the truth. In fact, there are other Leva victims in the tavern, and they all look like zombies. Han is utterly terrified by seeing this, and he starts to wonder what sort of monster Rude has referred him to. The attendant pushes him, telling him that he has to run since Lev will show up anytime soon. Han is still trying to understand what the attendant means by this when a giant dude with a scary aura appears in front of him. The scary dude turns out to be Lev, and he coincidentally spots the mercenary badge hanging down from Han's waist. Lev recognizes it as Rudy's badge, and it turns out that Rudy has told him beforehand that Han would be coming. Lev smiles, telling Han that he has come at the right time since he needed someone to fight with. Han is gripped with fear as he tries to understand what Lev is saying. However, staring at the scary face Lev is making tells Han that he is done for. He swears to beat Rude up the next time he crosses paths with him. The two leave the tavern and Lev explains things to him. Han asks Lev to know what he is getting himself into. He wants to know if he is going to be used as a slave in the war between the Steel Army and the Pessimut's army. Lev doesn't put it as badly as Han is saying it, and he claims that he is just going to be a companion. In reality, Han considers it a great opportunity since it feels like the country is drafting into its military. The Steel Predecessor is the protector of the game, and Han believes that he can get information on the other Guardians through him if he plays his game right. Han is totally left in thought when he gets a friendly hit from Lev, reducing his HP by 30. Lucky for Han, they run into the Predecessor and his troop. Han is already dreaming of being among them, but taking a better look at the Predecessor, he looks like a villain to Han. As if Han is not surprised enough, he realizes that the Predecessor is riding with the sister knight, Valpurgis. The Predecessor notices that Valpurgis is acting a bit weird, and he asks her if there is any problem, to which she says no. The troop rides past while Han just stares at them in awe. He actually recognizes Valpurgis because she was his companion in the other playthroughs. However, Han has never been able to save her in any of the playthroughs. Han has tried everything, but it ended the same way. Lev notices that Han is carried away, and he asks him if there is any problem, but he says no. Unknown to Lev, Han is making himself a silent promise to make sure that Valpurgis survives no matter what it is that he does. Moments later, they arrive at Lev's mercenary training house. There are several other men training their hearts out at the training ground. As if Han has the worst luck, Lev tells him that they were about to have a sparring match to pick the squad leader for the upcoming battle. To make it more interesting, they have placed bets with money. Even though Han is tempted to join, he decides not to be too forward. Just then, Lev screams at him, telling him that he will be joining the sparring session. Han doesn't even get the chance to argue the decision before Lev announces to the other mercenaries of Han's arrival. They immediately start to rejoice as they are all prepared to have a go at Han so that they can beat the crap out of him. Han stands there in horror, but has no choice since he doesn't get a say in their decision. In no time, Han finds himself in the ring, facing off against a much taller and bulkier dude, Max. Max makes fun of Han, telling him that he has a very small body that can break off with just a hit. Han ignores him and lets him do all the talking instead. Lev starts the match and Max charges at Han at high speed. He blitzes through the air, looking like a raging bull as he approaches Han. Han remains unfazed, and he allows Max to close down on him before easily taking him down in one hit. Han defeats Max, leaving the watching spectators in total disbelief. They can't believe that Max was sent to the ground by just a hit. Han is thankful that he ate the red dragon bone seeds, which have made him strong enough to rival an ogre. Excited to see what Han has to offer, the others start running forward, asking him to spar with them. In no time, Han has a bulk load of mercenaries to fight, and all it takes for him to defeat them is one single move. After beating up several dudes, a giant and well-built mercenary, Charles decides that it is time he joins the fight to restore the pride of the mercenaries. Han is gripped in fear at the presence of Charles, forcing him to question if the dude is even a human. Standing in front of Han is a giant dude emitting a really scary and paralyzing aura. Han is so terrified that sweat starts to run down his face. He decides that backing out is better than dying. He tries to log out of the game, but sadly he can't since he is stuck in the game until he dies or clears the game. Han begs Charles to give him just a minute to catch his breath, but Han refuses. He dashes toward Han with his scary and giant aura. He reaches for Han's head while Han just stands there like a kid who lost his candy. Realizing that Charles won't back off, Han decides to get serious. Just as Charles is about to reach him, he grabs one of his arms before grabbing his singlet and lifting him up. He then smashes Charles into the ground, leaving a crater in its wake while scattering dust in the air. Just like the others before him, Charles passed out cold on the ground, leaving the other mercenaries stunned. One of them is forced to ask Lev where he managed to find a monster like Han. Han immediately turns into a celebrity among the mercenaries. They are impressed that Han is pretty strong even though he has a small body. They start demanding another round of fighting from him, but he tells them that he needs to rest. Just then, Lev screams at the mercenaries, telling them to clear a path for him. He walks toward Han, and Han believes that he is about to have himself another batch of trouble, but Lev reveals that he has picked Han as the squad leader for the battle. Han is shocked to hear this, but he can't change what Lev has already decided. And just like that, Han finds himself leading a group of stern-looking mercenaries. With this, Han completes the quest to join the mercenaries, and his next quest is to recapture Harfheim Hill. Soon afterward, Han and his troop find themselves on the battlefield. Han and his troops are part of the Iron Margrave camp. He is cutting through enemy orcs like they are butter. Before coming to the battlefield, Lev had taken him to the board to explain the situation of things to him. He tells him that they are going against the orc army of the Demon King, Pizimuth. Apparently, their only objective is to seize the enemy commander's military flag. Lev showed Han the plan of attack. The plan he made is for them to break through the enemy's solid formation while fighting alongside their allies to get the chance to completely wipe out the enemy. However, Lev warned the team beforehand that the orcs they are going to fight against are a bunch of proud orcs. They are the strongest in the country when it comes to strength, and their teamwork is also top-notch. Lev gives Han the job of holding back the orcs since he is the squad leader. Now that Han has found himself on the battlefield, he is doing exactly that. He cuts through the orcs with his sharp blade, but in reality, he is only doing this to get recognized by the military before ditching the mercenaries. The captain of the orcs soon received the bad news that his spear unit had fallen apart. He doesn't want to believe this since the spear unit is known to be the best in the squadron. He angrily grabs the binoculars from his subordinate to see what is happening on the battlefield. To his greatest surprise, his subordinate is not lying. He sees Han and his team cheering themselves on after beating up the unit of spear-wielding orcs. In a state of panic, the orc captain orders the musket unit to get into battle formation. The orcs fire their muskets, but Han and his team have their shields on the ready. Han laughs at the type of weapon that the orcs have decided to use. He knows that the orcs will be forced to change formation repeatedly. Han waits for them to reload, and just as they are about to switch positions, Han and his troop barges into the orcs, breaking their front line. The unit leader cannot believe that someone as tiny as Han could break through the formation pretty easily. Even though all of his senses are telling him that Han is not someone he can take on, his pride forces him to stand his ground. The captain holds the flag of the orcs proudly, but this only leads to his downfall as Han and his team show no mercy in cutting him down. Han captures the flag, immediately creating a sense of happiness among the soldiers. While they are busy celebrating their win, the horn suddenly goes off, and their allies start to retreat, leaving Han and his squad on the battlefield. To make things worse, a bunch of angry orcs arrived on the battlefield as reinforcements. Han is disappointed and shocked that their allies are running away when they just need to fight a bit more to secure their victory. One of the squad members asks Han what they are supposed to do. He suggests that they leave the flag and make a run for it, but Han is not a coward to accept that. Before the squad knows it, they are surrounded by orcs on all sides. The new unit of orcs is led by their hidden boss, General Kallian. Kallian looks very threatening, and he urges Han and his men to give up their futile ambition. He lets them know that he is with his best unit and he promises to spare Han and his comrades if they surrender the flag. However, Han is not dumb enough to believe this, and he threatens to push their precious flag into Charles's underwear if they come any closer. This pisses Kallian off since the flag is considered to be sacred. Han continues to taunt the general, reminding him that they are at war, and no one really cares about a piece of trash flag. In fact, he threatens to rub the damn flag all over Kallian's boxers if he wins. By saying this, Han successfully intimidates the general. The general thinks twice before telling his units to prepare themselves to fire. Just then, the general orders his men to fire their weapons. This shocks Han, basically telling him that his intimidation technique failed. Apparently, in all the playthroughs, the general wouldn't have fired since he doesn't want to risk damaging his special military flag. The first wave of bullets flies past the team, while the ones that hit get caught in their armor and shields. Han is left in deep thought as he tries to rack his brain and think of a solution. Han is taking everything as a game until he remembers Aquila telling him that he can't afford to die, since it basically means his death in real life too. While this is happening, his squad members are screaming at him for orders. They shout at him, telling him that they are going to get wiped out as if Han is blind. Suddenly, Han starts smiling like someone who has a wicked plan up his sleeves. From a mild laugh, it turns into huge laughter, and Han demands that Charles hand him the trumpet. Charles is skeptical about Han's plan since there will be no reinforcement coming to save them, even if he blows the trumpet. However, Han tells him to shut his trapdoor and watch him. While all of these are happening, bullets keep flying around them, but plot armor makes sure that they are not hit. Just then, Han faces the opposite direction of where their allies are, and he blows the trumpet as loudly as he can. His squad members are surprised by this, and they call his attention to it. Han tells them that he is aware. He screams at them to mind their business and continue blocking the bullets. After blowing the trumpet, it seems Han is waiting for Aquila to do something to save him, as he is betting on whatever decency she has left, since he is a VIP. Just then, the general orders his spear unit to push forward and avenge their fallen comrades. The orcs charge at Han, aiming for his head with their spears. Just as Han is about to meet his end, an unknown horseman comes flying above them. After getting a closer look, it turns out to be Valpurgis. Valpurgis joins Han and his squad, urging them not to give up. She motivates the squad members, telling them to raise their swords to fight. Callion tells his men not to interfere in the fight as he wants to engage in a noble duel against Valpurgis. Valpurgis accepts the challenge, and she's the first to make a move. She swings her sword with power, but Callion dodges it. Callion returns the favor, which causes their weapons to hit each other, leaving a clashing sound and blinding light. Han is both impressed by the general and Valpurgis. He is more impressed with the fact that Valpurgis is still in the early stages of the story, but she's moving pretty well with her weapon. Callion and Valpurgis continue swinging at each other, leaving shockwaves from the intensity of their attacks. Valpurgis uses her agility to get the upper hand by dodging Callion's attack and leaping into the air to deliver a painful knee kick to Callion's face. Blood spills from his mouth and he grabs his face in pain. However, his ego stops him from crying, and instead, he laughs, telling Valpurgis that she's impressive. He commends her for being a good swordsman and also being efficient when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. He asks her what regiment she's from, and she simply tells him that she serves the divine being with all of her heart. Callion smiles, and the duel between the two continues. They continue exchanging blows, and Callion delivers a powerful swing that Valpurgis dodges, and it ends up shattering the ground. Valpurgis leaps into the air, and by the time she descends, she delivers a flashy fine cut straight through Callion's head down to his lower body. She cuts through his armor, and with this, Callion knows he has lost. Before crashing to the ground, he simply commends Valpurgis for giving him a good duel. Callion crashes right in front of his soldiers, sending a signal of fear right through them. With their commander rendered incapable of fighting, the orcs start retreating. Han is shocked to see this, as he was not expecting someone as strong as the general to be taken down so easily. He stands there in awe, staring at Valpurgis, realizing why she is worth her title. After the orcs have retreated, Valpurgis walks up to Han, stretching her hand to shake him and commend him for being a brave warrior. Han returns the gesture, and with this, Han earns Valpurgis's respect. Han thanks Valpurgis because they all would have been wiped out if not for her timely arrival. Han knows that he is no longer the Steel Predecessor and should have been more careful with his tactics. Han is lost in his thoughts until his squad members call his name. They present him with the enemy's flag that he previously claimed, and with this, Han gained more trust and respect from the mercenaries. Han is surprised that he is getting the credit for everything, even though every member on the squad did their best to stay alive. Han collects the flag and starts laughing like a maniac, leaving his squad members to believe that he has gone mad. After the battle, the team heads to the tavern to have fun. They are in the middle of consuming a big fat steak rolled on a bone like a lollipop when one of the attendants barges into the room. She rushes at Charles, scolding him for going to war and getting himself hurt. Han is confused, and he asks another teammate who the girl is. He assumes that she is Charles's daughter, but the dude debunks this, saying Charles is just 15 years old, even though he looks like a mountain. It turns out that the girl is Charles's sister, Baptiste. Baptiste then turns her frustration on Han, blaming him for getting her brother hurt. She grabs Han like he owes her money, but Charles tries to clear the air, telling Baptiste that the captain is the reason they came back alive. He lets her know that without the captain's help, they will be lying on a plate somewhere, serving as orc food. Before Baptiste knows it, every mercenary in the room is cheering for Han, calling him their savior. Han is left blushing, but suddenly, Valpurgis enters the room. Valpurgis takes Han to Hartheim Outpost, where the predecessor is waiting to see him. Valpurgis smiles, taking Han to see the esteemed leader, but Han is left wondering why Valpurgis is cheerful. In no time, Valpurgis is already telling Han to ditch the formalities and call her by her name instead. As she rides with Valpurgis, other soldiers also bow their heads, thanking Han for saving them because all would have perished if not for him. With Valpurgis's reaction and all, Han realizes that she has not actually changed. The only thing different is the nature of their relationship together, since he is nothing but a mere mercenary at the moment. Moments later, they arrive at the Steel Predecessor's tent. Inside the tent is the predecessor, and he is surrounded by a bunch of nobles and other advisors. Han can also feel the insane aura coming from the predecessor as he introduces himself as Philip. Philip commends Han for his bravery, comparing his strength on the battlefield to that of a lion. Han humbly takes the praises, and because of his courage on the battlefield, Philip tells him that he will be getting 300 florins, which is their currency in the game. To put it into context, 100 florins is the salary of a spearman for the entire year. Han appreciates Philip's gesture, and he assures Philip that he will repay the kindness shown to him. Philip then proceeds to ask Han if there is anything else that he wants. Han then says there is one demand that he would like to make, and Philip urges him to go right ahead. Han reveals his desire to regroup with his teammates in Wittenberg, which is a city 10 kilometers away from Hartheim. Even though Wittenberg is in a dangerous location deep in the rear lines, Philip approves of this, assuring Han that he will provide a wagon that he can use. Han thanks Philip, and then Philip asks him again if there is anything that he wants. Even though Han knows that he is supposed to just back away, he smiles and proceeds to tell Philip that he would like to ask him something. The situation in the room immediately becomes tense, but Philip still urges him to ask his question. Han then asks Philip what he thinks of the ongoing war. The question hits Philip and the nobles in surprise, and Han understands why this is, since he is just a mere mercenary. Philip then returns the question to Han, asking him for his own opinion. Han mentions that he doesn't have much to say, but reveals the fact that there is one thing that worries him. The nobles surrounding Philip start laughing and mocking Han, telling him that he is already acting all high and mighty because he was awarded just a medal. When Walpurgis realizes that the nobles are already getting to Philip with his words, she steps in. She advises Philip to at least hear what Han has to say before judging him. Philip's uncle screams at Walpurgis, telling her to know her place, but Philip calms his uncle down. He reminds his uncle that Walpurgis is a niece of the Bavarian predecessor, urging him to show some respect. Han is relieved that even with how proud and arrogant Philip is, he is still listening to Walpurgis's advice. Philip then tells Han to speak his mind. Just then, Han reveals that he senses an ambush. This immediately sends chills down their spine, and Philip asks Han if there is proof of his accusation. Han replies that he can justify this. He mentions that the Demon King Pezimuth's tactics revolve around ambush and backstabbing. He recounts that this was what Pezimuth did in the war against the Kingdom of Toa 10 years ago. To show that it wasn't a fluke, Han mentions that the same thing happened when Pezimuth was fighting the Margrave of Anhalt. Han tries to let Philip see why they can't ignore Pezimuth's tactics, which are all about betrayal. Instead of picking up some wisdom from what Han said, Philip takes offense instead. He asks Han if he thinks there is a traitor among them, and Han replies that he is not confident, but all signs point to that. Han lets Philip know that he means no offense and that he only wants him to be careful. Philip is enraged and unleashes a terrifying aura from his body, an aura that is enough to scare both Walpurgis and Han. Philip tells Han that the only reason he is still alive is out of his mercy. Philip warns Han, telling him not to go past his boundaries. Walpurgis is about to intercede for Han again, but Han cuts in, assuring Philip that he has taken his warning to heart. He apologizes for speaking out of place and turns around to leave the room. As he walks away from the tent, Han is left wondering why Philip would react the way he did, since other Steel Predecessors would have handled it better. Han is sure that something is off and different about the current Steel Predecessor. He starts looking back at the events that have happened so far. He wasn't supposed to come across the red dragon bone seeds until later, and even Walpurgis was not supposed to appear until later. He realizes that everything is different from the previous playthroughs he has gone through. He is in the middle of this when Walpurgis appears behind him. She is breathing heavily because she has been running after Han since he left Philip's presence. Han is surprised to see Walpurgis, and he asks her if she ran all the way from the tent just because she is worried about him, and she says yes. Walpurgis tells Han that she is there to apologize on behalf of her master, Philip. She admits that Philip's behavior was completely unacceptable, and she asks him if there is anything that he would like. She promises to make it happen as long as it's in her power to do so. Walpurgis is already expecting him to make some perverted request. Apparently, Walpurgis's family is one of the richest in the entire empire. Han manages to restrict his perverted thoughts to himself and tells Walpurgis that he only needs a horse and a pistol. Even Walpurgis is shocked, asking Han if that is the only thing that he would like. She lets him know that it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but even as tempting as the offer is, Han maintains his initial request. He reveals that he has always dreamed of becoming a cavalryman, and getting a horse will give him the opportunity he needs to learn how to ride. For the pistol, on the other hand, it is something that he just wants to fulfill his personal fantasy. Walpurgis is shocked when she sees Han tearing up, and she asks him the reason behind this. Han simply replies that they are tears of joy. Just then, Walpurgis drags Han, telling him to come with her. Han's face turns red like a tomato while being dragged away by Walpurgis. Not long after that, Philip and his troop meet Pezimuth on the battleground. Boastfully, Philip assures Pezimuth that he is going to end him. Pezimuth just stares at Philip scornfully while begging for someone to wipe Philip before he kills him with his bad breath. Just then, Pezimuth gets information from one of his intendants, telling him that their plans have all been perfected. Apparently, Pezimuth has a trump card up his sleeve, and he is planning to use a creepy woman named Hejaz. Even Pezimuth knows that Hejaz is a freak, but he is confident that he can keep her under control. Just then, the devil herself shows up, and to show how worse she is, the other demons bow in horror. Pezimuth tells Hejaz to activate her plan, but urges her to keep her creepiness to a bare minimum. Hejaz smiles, asking Pezimuth if she has ever gone too far. Pezimuth screams at the top of his lungs, reminding the creep that she always takes things too far. The other demons are left terrified just because they know how bad Hejaz can do things. Even though she promised to keep things moderate, the demons know that she cannot be trusted. Meanwhile, Han is making his way to the battlefield. He fears that something is terribly wrong. He is impressed with the speed of the horse and how fast it is. In addition to this horse he got from Valpurgis, he also got a healing potion from her, and this is a potion that heals any injury. It is sold at an expensive price of 1,000 florins, which is enough to buy off an entire building. The battle between Philip and Pessimist continues, and Philip believes he has the upper hand until he realizes too late that he doesn't. In no time, Philip's men are crushed on the battlefield, and this is when he realizes that he has been betrayed by one of the nobles working with him. The noble tells Philip of his plan to hit him with a false accusation of treason against the emperor. Philip falls into despair, but he doesn't think anyone will believe an accusation like that. However, the evil noble assures him that people will believe anything that they want to believe. Philip finds himself getting trampled upon by Pessimist thanks to the betrayal by the noble. Pessimist tells his men to tie Philip up, and just as he is about to be put in chains, Valpurgis arrives like a knight in shining armor. She kicks Pessimist in the face so hard, crushing a side of his face. Valpurgis shows up with her personal unit, and she orders them to get Philip away from the battle zone. Philip is put on a horse, and they start riding away, far from the battlefield. Pizzamouth then contacts the freak, Hejaz, telling her that Philip is headed her way. Meanwhile, Hejaz is having fun with the demons under her care. Once she gets the info that Philip is heading her way, she abandons her fun time and kicks into mission mode. She has prepared her zombie dogs for the attack that she is about to unleash. The moment Philip gets into the proximity, she orders her zombie dogs to go after him. Han is already in the area, and he notices the zombie dogs. He takes down a bunch of them that he runs into, but soon notices that they are few in numbers. He quickly realizes that the bulk of the zombies will be going after Philip. Han is blunt enough to know that he doesn't care about Philip, but he is only doing this to save Valpurgis. He edges his horse to run faster so that they can get to Valpurgis because she falls prey to the creepy Hejaz. Philip and his men are running through the woods, wading through the wet terrain. They are surrounded by zombie dogs, ready to tear them apart. Philip realizes that his mana is being restricted, and he assumes that this is the work of the Demon King. Suddenly, a zombie dog approaches Philip from the side and almost tears his head off. But as always, Valpurgis is there to save him. She slices the zombie dog in half. Philip's body refuses to move out of fear, and Valpurgis rushes over to him, telling him that they need to be careful since they are in a dangerous terrain. Just then, one of Valpurgis spots one of the soldiers getting shredded by zombie dogs. Valpurgis wants them to save the trapped soldier, but Philip suggests that they abandon her, talking about how she is collateral for him to live. Valpurgis is disappointed when she hears this, as she doesn't expect Philip, who is a ruler, to have such a mentality. Valpurgis regrets that she didn't listen to Han's warning. She knows that they would have been able to avoid all the bloodshed if she had listened to Han's warning. As if they are not in enough trouble yet, Hejaz appears from out of nowhere. She knocks Valpurgis off the horse, but instead of Philip stopping and helping his subordinate, he just keeps on riding. Valpurgis crashes to the ground, staring at Philip in disappointment as he rides away in the distance. Philip's latest behavior tells Valpurgis that she was totally wrong about Philip. Valpurgis finds herself trapped with the freak, who can't wait to do a lot of creepy things to her. Apparently, the position of the Steel Predecessor has always been given the power to choose the next emperor to rule the empire. In a sense, they are basically emperors within their own territory. This makes the position of a Steel Predecessor a very important one that cannot be joked with. Hejaz tells her subordinates to go after Philip while she has her fun with Valpurgis. Hejaz teases Valpurgis, reminding her that she is also the blood of a Steel Predecessor in her. This angers Valpurgis, and she angrily dashes toward Hejaz. Hejaz remains unfazed even with the angry Valpurgis coming toward her. She easily dodges Valpurgis's blow before hitting her with her whip. Valpurgis screams in pain, but this only turns Hejaz on. She talks about how badly she wants to mess with Valpurgis and hear more of her screams. Valpurgis falls into the pool of water, crying bitterly while thinking about how Han would have found a way to get himself out of the situation. However, she is already at her limit, but Hejaz is not yet done with her. Laughing like a maniac, she raises her whip, and just as she is about to beat Valpurgis again, she notices that something is off. She turns around to see the corpse of one of her zombie dogs, and just before she can react, Han appears behind him, landing a punch that sends her flying through the water before landing some meters away. Valpurgis is left in total disbelief when Han appears on the scene. She smiles from behind her helmet and concludes that Han is nothing short of a hero. Han also uses the opportunity to stand cool so he can aura farm his way into the girl's heart. Valpurgis crashes to the ground from exhaustion, and Han walks over to check on her. Meanwhile, Hejaz recovers from the deadly blow that just landed on her. She is left to wonder how Han killed a zombie dog, and even reached her before she could notice. Without deceiving herself, she figures that Han is no ordinary person. Han stands back up to face Hejaz, and he lets her know that he is used to all of her petty tricks. Hejaz is shocked that Han knows her, and she calls him her bro, but this vexes Han. Han tells her not to call him her bro and points his gun at her. Being a creep that she is, Hejaz remains unfazed in the presence of the gun. She urges Han to aim well and make sure he gets the hit off because her whip is more dangerous and it moves faster too. Just then, Han fires his gun, but he misses Hejaz's head. This costs him as Hejaz uses the chance to dash toward Han, and she hits him so hard with her whip. She wraps the whip around Han, using this to propel herself toward Han. She headbutts Han's face so hard that her entire skull almost sinks into him. Hejaz then follows through with a punch that sends Han flying through the woods. While still trying to recover, Hejaz sends her whip flying toward Han. Thanks to his agility, Han is able to dodge the whip attacks. He moves in a zigzag direction to effectively prevent Hejaz from hitting him. Hejaz was initially laughing until she realized that Han had gotten close to her. Her laughter soon turns into utter disbelief as she stares at the monster running at her. She has always been the top-tier soldier in the unit when it comes to wielding whips, and Han is just dancing around it like it's nothing. However, she is still not ready to give up. She tries to salvage the situation, but it is too late. Han moves away from her field of vision and appears behind her before she can react to his movements. Armed with a pistol in his right hand and a knife in the other, Han smiles like a proper maniac. He cut Hejaz on the face, affecting one of her eyes in the process. Han stares at Hejaz with animosity, but Hejaz is still ripped with shock that she has lost one of her eyes while playing around. Hejaz figures that she is going to need time to recover, and she unleashes her demon wings so she can fly away. Han mocks her for trying to run away. Hejaz simply turns around, telling Han that she doesn't fight battles she knows she is not going to win. However, Han notices that something seems off, and with his gun aimed at Hejaz, he demands to know what she is planning. He lets Hejaz know that he has range on his side, but Hejaz laughs this off. She tells Han that she has what it takes to actually dodge a bullet mid-air. Han decides to test this out, and he fires the gun. The moment the bullet leaves the barrel, Hejaz realizes that she miscalculated. Before she can move, the bullet tears through the left side of her body. She crashes from the air into the water below while Han's gun puffs out smoke, making him cooler. Han walks toward Hejaz, telling her how annoying she is, but Han is the one making weird faces. He licks his tongue while waiting to check out the loot that Hejaz has with her. Just then, Hejaz starts crying like a pitiful baby. She tries to convince Han not to kill her, but this only enrages Han further. He tells her to stop acting like a creep and just die. Hejaz is shocked to hear this as she stares at Han in total disbelief that her stupid charm didn't work. Just then, Han gets the notification, informing him that he has defeated Pezimuth's lieutenant. Han acquires several loot from her, which include her whip and cloak. Han also gets some physical enhancement and some potions too. Han is delighted with the loot he gained, and once he confirms that Hejaz is completely out, he brings out the healing potion with him, hoping to save Valpurgis with it. The instructions for the healing potion require that he apply it directly to the injured area to heal the injuries. Since Valpurgis is covered in her armor, he realizes that he has no choice but to take it off. He tries his best to push his impure thoughts aside so he can easily heal the girl. The scene shifts to Han's backstory. His father died when he was just a kid, and as if this was not enough, his mother also collapsed while at work. By the age of 18, Han was already an orphan with no one. By age 22, Han had already picked up the profession of a problem solver in the city. He helps people recover their money and also helps protect those who are owing, as long as he gets paid. While making a deal with one of his customers, he learns from him that he is making money from the game that he is playing. Han immediately becomes interested, and it was this customer who told him about the game, Humanity's Guardian. The customer explains that the game is a large world where players have their freedom. In addition to this, it is filled with beautiful anime girls with exceptional character design. Han learned that the game has over 1 billion users, and the top rankers in the game usually take home tens of millions of won. Han cannot believe that people actually earn money by sleeping in a game capsule while completing quests. The customer asks Han if he is willing to try it out, but Han initially declines the offer, revealing that he is pretty busy for the day. Just then, he received a text from his appointment, telling him that he had canceled their plans for the day. Since he has nothing else to do for the day, he decided to log into the game. Han was surprised at how detailed and real everything looked. Even the streets are buzzing with people, leaving Han to wonder if he is really in a game or real life. He looks around to get a better feeling of his surroundings. The NPCs look all real, and they even have pores on their skin. Han tries buying fruits, but since he doesn't have money, the seller tells him to move out of his way while he attends to other customers. Han takes a look at his inventory to find money, and this is where he found 10 florins lying in his account. Han thinks of saving the money instead of buying the fruits, but just then, a kid shows up, staring at the fruits, talking about how nice they look. Apparently, the boy is there with his mother, and he seems to be hungry, but they have no money to buy the fruit. Because of the kid, Han buys one of the apples, which is 1 florin, and he hands it to the boy. The boy collects the apple with happiness written all over his face. His mother bows to Han, thanking him for spending his money on her son. However, Han doesn't take this too seriously since it's just game money. Nonetheless, the woman and her son thanked Han before leaving. Helping the kid brought back memories of when Han was still a kid. He remembered that he was just a little brat who always demanded fried chicken from his mother. Han smiles after remembering this, which is all thanks to the game. Since his first day of entering the game, Han started visiting Humanity's Guardian more often. Whenever he feels stressed in real life, he just logs into the game to relieve stress. He started completing quests, and whenever he logs into the game in anger, he vents all his anger out on monsters. He continued this way, and before he knew it, 5 years had passed in the game. This was when he met Valpurgis. Valpurgis heard of Han being a skilled warrior, and she approached him to help take down a dangerous wild boar. Valpurgis manages to trick Han into joining her by punching his male ego. The two head to the territory of the wild boar, and with just a strike, Han takes down a boar, leaving Valpurgis in disbelief. Happy with how strong Han is, Valpurgis asks him if he is willing to team up. She sends him a request to form a party with him, and Han hesitates. Realizing that Han is not going to cooperate without some measure of goodwill, She assures him that she is going to recommend him as a knight of the Empire. Han hears this and immediately agrees to the deal. In no time, Han climbs up the ranks and becomes the Steel Predecessor. He stands in front of the crowd, addressing them, and Valpurgis stands beside him. She asks him how he feels being in his position, but Han is humble enough to know that he did get there with his own strength alone. He gives Valpurgis her flowers, saying he wouldn't be where he is without her. However, Valpurgis points out the fact that Han is just enjoying the dividend of the peace he created. Now in the present, Valpurgis has recovered, but Han's face is all disfigured, probably after getting beaten up by Valpurgis for opening her armor. Valpurgis asks Han why he is so committed to helping, and with his banged up face, Han replies that he simply likes the world. Han adds that the game world is the first place he has admired beauty and nature. Valpurgis then mentions that she is going back to the convent, and Han understands why this is because they need to know that she is still alive. Valpurgis reveals that she would like to repay Han when they return to the convent because she appreciates him. Han quickly tells Valpurgis that he is looking forward to it, but she already knows that he is just a freaking pervert. Soon afterward, they arrive at the convent only for Han to be denied entry by Sister Angela, who claims that the convent is under an emergency protocol. After his request to enter the convent is denied, Han is forced to stay in an inn near Lenefelten. He is disappointed with the turn of things since he wanted to request the Heart of the Angel as his compensation from the convent. The Heart of the Angel is a sacred relic passed down through generations in the Valpurga convent for centuries. It is an S-rank artifact that is powerful enough to bring a soul from the dead. It is basically an extra life just in case a player dies. Han is thinking about this when Valpurgis enters the room, apologizing for making Han sleep in an inn instead of the convent. She meets him in a very weird position, and when she asks him what he is doing, he simply replies that he is thinking. Just then, Valpurgis reveals that there is something important that she would like to share with him, but it's of utmost importance and needs to be kept a secret. Han assures Valpurgis that she has nothing to worry about since no one can waterboard the information out of him. Valpurgis is relieved to hear this, and she drops the bombshell, revealing that the Reverend Mother has fallen to the dark side. Han is shocked to hear this since he just spoke to Angela some minutes ago, but it turns out that Angela is no longer the Reverend Mother. Margareta is now the new Reverend Mother, and Valpurgis believes that the Demon King is behind this. Han holds his head in horror as he tries to understand how Margareta is still alive. Han falls into deep thought while Valpurgis continues talking to him. Apparently, Margareta is the most powerful woman in the history of the Empire. She is basically a living symbol of power who can crush even a mid-ranked demon lord with no stress. She is the very person who turned the convent into a military movement. Han realizes that Margareta is too important for them to be lost to the darkness. He suddenly gets up in excitement, shocking Valpurgis. He tells Valpurgis that they need to head to the convent without delay. Han claims that he is pretty knowledgeable when it comes to the way darkness operates. Valpurgis then takes Han to Angela, who is the assistant Reverend Mother. Valpurgis tells Angela the same thing Han told her. Valpurgis assures Angela that they can trust Han. Angela realizes that Valpurgis has told Han a lot about the situation already. She reveals that things are a bit suspicious in the convent, and there is no doubt that they have a traitor among them. Because of this, Angela finds it hard to trust an outsider, and she tells Han to leave. Valpurgis tries to convince Angela, but she insists that Margareta's case is not something that an outsider can handle. Just then, Han steps up to argue his case. He tells Angela that he has read the 7 sacred scriptures. Angela is shocked to hear this since the scriptures are something written by the revered Saint Antonio. This is a book that is said to contain everything that needs to be known about darkness. Angela gets hyped up, smashing her table while asking Han how he was able to come across the sacred scriptures. She doesn't want to believe, but Han urges her to trust him, telling her that he knows every method that they can use to resist the darkness. Angela agrees, but tells Han that he has to swear not to tell anyone about the events. With a threat that sends fear running down his spine, Angela lets him know that she will kill him in the most cruel way if he goes back on his promise. Han soon finds himself surrounded by muscled nuns, and he cannot believe that Angela smashed a desk with just her grip strength. Han has never seen Margareta, but with what he has heard, she is very huge. Valpurgis notices that Han is tense, and it is understandable since he is surrounded by muscle maniacs who can easily crush him anytime. They soon arrive at Margareta's chambers, and from the door, they can sense the scary malice coming from the room. Angela urges Han to stay strong so he doesn't fall under the influence of malice. Angela, Valpurgis, and Han proceed into the chambers while the other nuns wait outside. As they walk deeper into the chambers, Han feels the intense dark aura from the room. Han asks Valpurgis if she is fine, and she says yes, since she is under the protection of the goddess. She is more worried about Han, but Han assures her that he is also fine. They finally made it to where Margareta, the most powerful woman in history, is lying. Han was left in disbelief when he saw that Margareta looked like a normal girl, unlike the rest of the muscle maniacs. Angela notices that Han is playing around, and she urges him to be serious because they were desperate enough to ask a mercenary like him for help. They have tried everything, but nothing has worked. Angela grabs Han so tightly that he loses 50 HP just from getting grabbed by the bulked-up lady. Han begs to be let down, and Angela quickly puts him on the ground. Han admits that Margareta's condition is quite critical with what he has seen. Since she is a priest, Han believes that she will be suffering more pain than a regular human, and he is able to figure this out thanks to the black vein all around her neck. Han assures Angela that there is still a way to save her, but this results in him getting grabbed roughly yet again. Han reveals that there is just a simple solution, and this is using the convent's relic on Margarita. And by this relic, he is talking about the heart of the angel. Angela realizes that Han is trying to extract the darkness from Margarita's body and then seals it inside someone else, while sealing it in the process. Angela then mentions that divine power and curses mostly rival each other, which means Margarita might as well die in the process of the transfer. Han agrees with Angela, but says he is going to use the heart of the angel to carry this out with no harm. The sisters can carry out the ritual too because of their divinity, but since he is an outsider, it is pretty easy for him to be the vessel. After explaining this with a smile on his face, Angela tells Han that she still fears that his plan won't work. Apparently, Margarita left a message, telling them not to sacrifice anyone in her stead. Margarita claims that the Empire will lose everything if that is to happen. Angela agrees with Margarita's wishes because the curse affecting her is one that they do not know of. It is a mysterious curse that looks really dangerous. Angela then asks Han if he thinks he can survive with the curse in his body since he's going to be haunted for the rest of his damn life. Valpurgis agrees with Angela, but Han assures them that he will be fine. Han looks Angela in the face, assuring her that he knows the darkness from the Great Holy War, and since he is not a cleric, he is not vulnerable to the darkness. Han adds that he is just a mere nobody who serves as the best candidate for them. Angela is hesitant about the plan since she knows that Margarita is going to berate her when she wakes. However, she wants to save Margarita, and she gives Han free rein to do whatever it is that he wants to. After collecting the heart of the angel relic, he prepares his plan to help Margarita. Han knows for sure that it would be wise for him to save the relic for later, but at the same time, he needs to resurrect Margarita so she can become his ally. Han puts the relic on his finger, and Valpurgis tells him to rethink his decision, but Han's mind is already made up. Angela can see this, and she urges Valpurgis to forget about trying to convince Han since he is a man. Once the preparations are complete, Han begins the ritual. He places his hand on Margarita's head and starts swallowing up the darkness inside of her. Han is transported to the realm of darkness, where it is completely dark. Suddenly, he hears a terrifying voice behind him, demanding to know the identity of who summoned them. Han then introduces himself, and he tells the voice to lift the curse that they placed on Margarita. The voice laughs at Han and calls him weak. The voice tries to crush Han's soul, but his soul is protected. This shocks the darkness since it doesn't expect Han's soul to be immune to its power. Han simply tells the darkness to shut its mouth and lift the curse on Margarita. Realizing that it can't touch Han, the darkness threatens to hurt everyone Han has known. Since the darkness is playing a dirty game, Han decides to play along. He tells the darkness that he has seen the 7 sacred pictures. This catches the darkness's attention, and Han continues talking about how he got the scriptures and the events surrounding them. He claims that he traded blows with death in a struggle to get it. Using this, Han is able to blackmail the darkness, forcing it to agree to his terms. However, the darkness mentions that it has conditions of its own too. Han is then given a quest to kill all the demon lords who are affiliated with death in a struggle. He is given a list of demon lords that he has to kill. There is Kolak, Farza, Herzamak, and Amur on the list. Once they have reached an agreement, the darkness proceeds to unleash its power on Han. The pressure from the power is so much that it rips through Han's skin, and he believes that he is going to die. Once the merging process is complete, he unlocks a new stat, Darkness. In addition to this, he acquired a new skill that allows him to summon the dead. However, the force of acquiring such power is too much, and he ends up dying. Later on, he comes back to life, which is all thanks to the relic he was wearing on his finger. Han laughs evilly, realizing that he just got himself some really cool powers. He is basically the king of necromancers, and he can command a legion of liches, undead, and even bone dragons. He has managed to raise his rank so high that he is proud of himself. Just then, Valpurgis enters the room with tears in her eyes, believing that she has lost Han. However, Han assures the lady that he is fine. Valpurgis reveals that she brought Han to her room after he lost consciousness at the end of the ritual. Han thanks Valpurgis for saving him, but the lady screams at him, telling him not to do something reckless again. The lady reveals that she was very worried when Han was totally out. Han places his hand on hers, assuring her that he is not going to do something that will get her worried again. Valpurgis smiles after hearing this, relieved that she has Han beside her. Suddenly, they hear a loud noise outside, and they assume that they are under attack. The two rush outside to find Angela and some other nuns standing in front of decimated trees. Han is shocked to see this, and he asks Angela if Pesima showed up out of nowhere to break down trees. Just then, Han hears Margarita's voice behind him, telling him that she was just doing a light warm-up after waking up. He turns around after feeling the intense aura from Margarita, and he is stunned to see the lady carrying a giant tree in her hands like it's nothing. She drops the tree trunk she is carrying, and it almost crushes Han and the others who are watching. Margarita smiles like she didn't just try to crush her subjects to death, and she tells Han that he can call her Mari instead of her. After she is done showboating, Marie and the group head back inside. Apparently, Han sought the Necromancer power so he could assassinate Philip. But since Philip is a predecessor, he needs to be careful. Mari's lively nature pulls Han out of his deep thought, forcing him to ask Valpurgis if Mari is always this way. In addition to this, he cannot believe that the feared Mari is just a kid. Moments later, they arrive at the underground vault of the convent. Mari reveals that the vault is filled with several cursed items that are fit for someone like him, since he is cursed. Han thanks Mari for this, but she tells him not to, since she would like to take him on a date. Mari finally puts behind her childish behavior, and she opens the vault door. Han is enjoying everything so far, and he just wants to finish from the convent before he starts to hunt Philip. Han is able to gather equipment and items that are of high rank. He is pretty sure that with his new setup, there is no one who would outclass him again. Han heads to the stable where his horse is, ready to leave, but Valpurgis shows up. She asks him for a walk before he leaves, and Han agrees. Valpurgis reveals that she is comfortable around Han as if they have known each other for a long time. Unknown to Valpurgis, the two share a lot of history together. Just then, Valpurgis asks Han if he is curious about her face, which she always hides behind the mask, but Han plays dumb. Han says he never asked since he believes that there is a reason for her to wear the mask. Valpurgis then reveals that there is a huge scar on her face, which was left behind by a curse. Even Valpurgis doesn't know what kind of curse it is, and because of this, her uncle has been doing his best to make sure that it remains a secret. However, those who don't know her story have coined out a nickname for her, which is the Ugly Knight. Valpurgis then tells Han that she is prepared to show him her face, and this is because it is him. She raises her helmet, revealing the glowing beauty underneath it. She asks Han if she looks hideous, but Han's face is already bright red, so he is too stunned to speak. Han is blown away because this is the first time he will be seeing Valpurgis' face in all the playthroughs that he has gone through. The situation between the two gets even more awkward when Valpurgis reveals that she has a gift for him. It's a treasure passed down in her family. It is a necklace, and with the way she is saying it, it's pretty valuable. Han is forced to ask why the lady would want to give him something so valuable. She answers that it is a token and a signature that means they will always be together. Han is happy to hear this, and he assures Valpurgis that he is going to treasure the necklace with everything he has. Trying to avoid more awkwardness, Han decides that it is time they go their separate ways. However, they soon find themselves arguing over who is supposed to go first or stay back. In the process, Han unlocks the romance route to get to Valpurgis. With this quest unlocked, Han realizes that he might end up getting married to Valpurgis. As he travels through the dark forest, he finds the bodies of soldiers lying everywhere, brutally killed. He figures out that Philip's army had a fight with Peasant's army in the forest. In addition to the bloodstain and position of bodies, he figures out that it hasn't been long since it happened. He decides to sweep the area and get a grip on the situation. He whips out his dagger, and the dagger activates a new skill for him. This is a skill that allows him to summon the dead. The moment the skill activates, it summons vampires, the dead soldiers, and Han orders them to track down Philip. He also orders one of them to gather the military uniforms on the ground, as they will come in handy later. Philip is hiding in a rundown village when Han shows up, screaming at the top of his lungs to announce his presence. Philip replies to Han from where he is hiding in an attempt to protect his ego. One of his men suggests that they continue hiding to properly assess the situation, but Philip punches him in the mouth, telling him to keep his mouth shut. Philip believes that Han is there to save him, while his soldiers are just mere trash. Philip assures his soldiers that they are all going to serve under Han once he manages to get out of the tough spot he found himself in. Philip rushes out to meet Han, believing that he is his savior. He kneels in front of Han with happiness all over his face. Philip's soldiers, on the other hand, are all scared for their lives. Philip assures Han that he is going to reward him, but just then, Han attacks Philip's soldiers, shocking him. He crushes their heads with just his fists before turning his attention to Philip. Han assures Philip that he has no need for him again, leaving Philip in a state of shock and fear. Philip is enraged when he sees this. Red veins fill up his body, talking about how he is a tiger and Han is nothing but a dog. Han doesn't mind the comparison as he tells Philip that he is ready to bite off his superior. Philip unsheathes his sword and swings it so hard, releasing a deadly technique. Han jumps backward, dodging the sword slash, but his minions get crushed by Philip's attack. Han realizes that losing more minions will cost him precious mana, and he tells all of them to back off. Philip taunts Han, believing that he has the upper hand, but Han unsheathes his weapon, the dagger. The two leap toward each other, attacking each other and smiling like creeps. Philip stays on the offensive, destroying everything in his path while Han is being forced backwards. Han feels the impressive power of the predecessor, but he is not surprised since he once wielded the impressive power that comes with being in the position of a predecessor. Han knows that the technique used by the predecessor is one that relies on counterattack. Philip pushes Han back, telling him that he is not going to allow him to survive. Han then reveals that he has the convent backing him up, but Philip says he doesn't care about the convent or those supporting him. Philip activates another form of his sword attack, lifting him into the air. He looks monstrous in the air, and he plans to end Han with a single strike. Philip manages to land the hit, but it turns out to be very weak. All the injuries he has suffered so far contribute to his lack of mana. This leaves him open, and Han easily kicks him in the chest, throwing him into the distance. Han then tells Philip that the convent is not the one he should be scared of, but him. Philip falls to his knees and loses his grip on his sword. He tells Han that he would have easily crushed him if he were in good shape. Philip screams at Han, asking him why he is trying to kill him when he has only shown him favor. Han is surprised that Philip still doesn't realize what he did wrong, and since he doesn't, he tells him that he is going to spell it out for him. Han reveals that he is mad because he advised Philip, and he basically threw everything in the trash. Philip's second offense is that he abandoned Valpurgis, who has always served him. The third one is that Philip allowed people, whom he was supposed to protect, to die. Just then, Philip starts to cry, saying everything he has done so far is for the benefit of the people, because if he dies, there is no one who would cater for them. Philip adds that his death would only bring joy to the electorate, and Han agrees with Philip. Because of this, he tells Philip that he is going to give him a fair chance. Han brings out a healing potion, and he assures Philip that he will give him the healing potion if he can accept his terms. Philip excitedly tells Han that he is prepared to do whatever he asks him to do. Han then tells Philip to get down on his knees and beg Valpurgis for forgiveness. Philip puts his pride aside and does as told. Han tells him that he will also give Valpurgis his family money, and he agrees to this. After tendering his apology, Han gives him the dark-colored potion to drink. Without thinking twice, he gulps it up but spits it out immediately. It turns out that it is no healing potion but the venom of the poison dragon, Fergma. Philip is pissed that Han is trolling him. Han then tells Philip that there is nothing he can do to survive since demon kings die from the poison he just drank. It was poison that he got from Hejaz after defeating her. Philip angrily picks up his sword to attack Han, but before he can reach Han, one of the vampires slashes him. Philip is shocked to see that he just got cut by one of his dead soldiers, Pip. He starts asking stupid questions like, how is he still alive? This was the soldier that he allowed a zombie dog to devour while telling Valpurgis that he was just collateral. Pip reveals that he actually died, but Han was the one who gave him a second chance at life. Pip boldly tells Philip that the master he serves is Han. Pip stands in front of Philip with a menacing aura, telling him that it's time for him to pay for his arrogance. Pip places his sword on Philip's neck, ready to decapitate him. The system asks Han if he is ready to allow Pip to kill Philip, since it is going to affect the game's progression. Han is shocked to learn that Philip's death will mess with the game. Even with the warning from the game, Han orders Pip to kill him. Following his master's orders, Pip slashes Philip's throat, ending him. Error notification is slapped all over the screen, announcing that a guardian has been killed. Because of this, the system notifies Han that he has increased the difficulty of the game because he interfered with the will of the system. Instead of getting scared, Han laughs evilly since all of this is part of his plan. He has somehow shocked Aquila, who didn't see it coming. Aquila watches as Han dances in excitement, but she swears that it is just the beginning. With Philip out of the picture, Han is blessed with some new high-ranking skills. Han is proud of himself as he stares at the rewards he got from taking out the predecessor. He gained 3 SS grade skills, 1 S grade skill, and 1 A grade skill. To top it all off, he acquires a drop item. He tries using it, but he encounters a barrier, and he decides that Mari is going to help him out with that. The system informs Han that he has obtained a guardian's essence, but he is going to need 5 to become a transcended being. The system then warns him that the seal will get weaker with every guardian that Han kills. Han is able to figure out that he needs to be pretty careful when terminating the guardians so as not to have a big problem on his hands. He wants to emerge as a transcendent at the end and clear the game on his own. Just then, Pip comes running over, telling Han that they have found what he was looking for in Philip's belongings. Han gladly collects the item from Pip, which is a scroll, and he commends him for a job well done. Pip then tells Han that they have followed his instructions to dress Philip up like a demon. Just then, they find one of Philip's soldiers who is hiding. He starts begging that they spare his life. Pip turns to Han, asking him what they should do about the guy. Han smiles at the scared soldier because he has something cooked up for him since he is ready to do anything. Not long after this, a troop of soldiers led by Commander Lawrence arrived at the site where Philip was killed. Lawrence is informed by his troops that they managed to find a survivor after searching. Lawrence then orders that the survivor be cared for since they are going to need his testimony. Moments later, Lawrence hears from the survivor. He tells Lawrence that they were attacked by demon troops, and they stole an item from Philip. The survivor confesses that he was hiding while his friends were being killed. This vexes Lawrence, and he angrily hits the ground with his sword, wishing that he had arrived at the village a bit sooner. Instead of punishing the survivor, Lawrence decides to portray him as a model knight for everyone to see. He tells the other soldiers that the survivor risked his life to protect Philip. Lawrence admits that they might have lost the battle, but their honor as knights remains intact. He then orders his soldiers to search for Philip, and they must not rest until they find him. Later on, Lawrence makes his way to the Rose Palace to report on his mission. He tells his superior that they searched for Philip everywhere, but there were no traces of him. She then asks Lawrence about the item in Philip's possession, and Lawrence reveals that it is missing. Lawrence's boss tells him that they need to find the item if they are to restore Philip as the predecessor, which makes it very important that they get the item. Lawrence wants to mention the fact that Philip is dead, but his boss tells him to swallow it. It turns out that the person he is working for is the demon lord, Rose. Rose then sends a message to the mutants via Lawrence, telling them to return the item with them or face her wrath. At the mutant territory, which is headed by Pessimith, he learns that Mari is back to life, and the news leaves him stunned. Pessimith is confused about how Mari was able to break his trap, which he considered to be flawless. Pessimith's fear is reasonable, since Mari is considered to be a very dangerous woman who can wipe out legions by herself. Pessimith remembers what she did to Alif when she stormed his fortress and wiped out all of his men before slicing Alif's head. And this only happened because one of Alif's men stepped on her snack. After the incident, all the demon lords started calling her Margarita of Storm and Slaughter. As if Pessimith is not going through enough yet, a message arrives from Rose. Before even opening the message, Pessimith talks about how stressed he is, but he doesn't know that more stress awaits him. He stares at the letter sent by Rose, and he freaks out when he reads the contents of the letter. His intendant is shocked to see him acting up, and he asks him what happened. He simply tells him that the crazy woman, Rose, is demanding something he doesn't have from him. Pessimith's intendant is left in deep thought, wondering why Rose would think they have what she is demanding. He knows that they didn't catch Philip, and they even lost Hejaz during the entire thing. The dude knows that Mari's coming back to life and the said possession going missing all connect as one suspicious activity. It suddenly gets the bright idea that there is a mastermind behind everything that has been happening. Meanwhile, the said mastermind is peacefully strolling through the woods with his attendant Pip, with no care or trouble in the world. It turns out that Han is planning to raise Philip as an undead later, and Pip is looking forward to this since Philip will be his junior in the undead category. However, Han is glad that he has the real treasure with him, which is the Imperial Decree. The Imperial Decree is a document stamped with the Empire's golden seal, and it is proof of being a predecessor. Han considers himself a very lucky man for having the Imperial Decree and Philip's corpse with him. Han screams into the air saying the world is his, and Pip supports him in screaming too. Meanwhile, a trader and his men are riding through the woods after conducting a successful business, but they are suddenly attacked by Lawrence and his troops. An arrow from behind pierces the trader's neck, instantly taking him out. The trader's guards find it difficult to stand against Lawrence and his guys. The team leader gets smacked into a tree by Lawrence. Lawrence then walks up to him, teasing him about crying to Valpurgis if he can't handle the situation himself. He also adds that he is free to inform his uncle too. Later on, Han returns to the convent, and he is getting himself a treat from Valpurgis. She is not with her helmet, and when Mari enters the room, she almost dies of excitement and shock as she has never seen Valpurgis without her helmet too. Mari is proud of Valpurgis because she is trying to show her true self since she is finally becoming a real woman. Mari then urges Han to take good care of Valpurgis or risk getting crushed by her. Mari says this with so much malicious intent that Han knows he dare not hurt Valpurgis. Mari then asks him if Philip is truly dead, and he says yes. He confesses that he is keeping Philip's corpse with him. He asks Mari if she is concerned about Philip dying, but Mari says yes because she wanted to kill Philip with her own hands. Trembling, Han tells Mari that it is already so she doesn't have to worry about it. Just then, Han tells Mari that he has a gift for her, and excitedly Mari asks what it is. Han pulls out a big sack, and inside the sack are lots of gold coins. Han tells Mari that she is free to buy all the snacks that she wants with the money. It turns out that the money is part of the loot Han got from Philip after killing him. Mari is ultimately happy, and she wastes no time comparing Han to the Angel of Kindness. In fact, she calls Han a handsome man. But Han already knows where the conversation is going, and he quickly tells Mari that he is going to pass on whatever offer she is about to bring up. Valpurgis spots some letters on the table, and these are letters exchanged between Rose and Philip, which detail their plan to make Philip an emperor. Apparently, Rose and the current emperor are on bad terms because of tax issues. Mari adds that the recent economic blockade is also adding to the tension between the two. Han is shocked to hear this, and he demands to know more. Mari explains that the Emperor has been confiscating all goods from merchants who are connected to Rose. These cause tension between the knights and the guild. In fact, the Rider Knight even attacked the Ignis Guild. Mari reveals that everything has caused even Valpurgis to be stressed out. Valpurgis tries getting Mari to shut her mouth, but Mari decides to dive deeper. Valpurgis then tells Mari to stop talking, promising to reveal the whole situation herself. Apparently, the Emperor's blockade is causing tension between Valpurgis's family, the Byron family, which a predecessor also emerges from. Later that day, Valpurgis tells Han to forget about everything she has told him since she doesn't want to involve him in the dirty politics surrounding her family. However, Han is the perfect gentleman, and he tells Valpurgis that he is willing to help as long as it is something that concerns Valpurgis. Valpurgis feels some semblance of guilt in her because the situation has caused a really big issue, and Han understands her. He knows that Valpurgis is a reliable person, but at the same time, she is still a soft girl. Han holds Valpurgis's hand, assuring her that the situation might be quite bad, but at the same time, he doesn't mind. He assures Valpurgis that he is going to help while teasing that mercenaries are also good for the economy. Han then adds that he is pretty confident in his skills, but Valpurgis is totally lost on this since she doesn't understand what Han means by this. Shortly afterward, Han barges into Mari's chambers while she is busy consuming her snacks. He shows Mari the magic item that was in Philip's possession, and he tells her to open it to get double the rewards of what she already has. Mari, being the master negotiator that she is, negotiates to triple rewards instead of double, and Han agrees. After opening the item, Han found a pair of gloves inside. They appear to be something cool, so he puts them on in no time. However, he still doesn't know the uses, and when he asks Mari about it, she just ignores him since she is busy enjoying her triple rewards. After this, Han leaves the convent, and while riding through the woods, his horse, Philly, suddenly comes to a halt. Han is shocked as to why the horse suddenly stopped, and the horse turns its head to show Han that they have arrived at the great city of Plzen. After 3 hours of waiting in the queue, he finally got the chance to enter the city. Stepping into the city, he sees people carrying banners of how much they love the city. Plzen is a city where various races live, and they are ruled by the Demon King, Kubalt. They all adore their king, and every corner of the city is people singing Kubalt's praises like he is the next big thing. Apparently, Kubalt played a huge role in uniting cultures of different races with his knowledge. Because of this, he is considered the pro-human demon just after Rose. Han is in the city to meet with him since he is going to be a key figure in his plan. Just then, a happy goblin approaches Han, telling him that he is blessed with an extraordinary aura. Han is shocked, and he is forced to ask the goblin if he knows him, but he says no. Apparently the goblin is just blown away by the extraordinary aura brimming around Han. This is when it dawns on Han that he has an SS rank skill, which is called the Majesty of the Great Leader. This is a skill that allows for a divine aura to envelop the body of its user. Han is glad that he has the skill since he planned for it later. The goblin then asks Han if it is his first time in the city, and he says yes, revealing that he is there to meet the leader, Kubalt. The goblin's face lights up in excitement, saying a great person like Han is drawn to a great leader like Kubalt. The goblin then reveals that he also wants to meet the ruler, and he offers to lead Han to him. Han is skeptical, but he follows the goblin anyway, and in no time, they arrive at Kubalt Castle. The goblin tells Han to wait in the audience chamber while he gets him tea. After the goblin leaves, Han realizes that the majesty of the great leader just got a buff. However, it is still in level 1, which leaves Han to wonder how the goblin was able to recognize him. Han decides to forget about that and just focus on what's ahead. In the audience chamber is a sculpture of Kubalt, sitting pretty there. Han laughs because the dude likes to praise himself. Just then, the goblin returns with the tea, startling Han. He apologizes for startling him, and Han suggests that he make his presence known next time before he gives him a heart attack. The goblin reminds Han that he is a monster, so his presence is off by default. Han then asks the goblin what brought him to the castle, and he reveals that he came to the castle to register his marriage. He just got married, and he uses the opportunity to praise Kubalt again. However, Han notices that the goblin is referring to Kubalt as that guy, while everyone else calls him the Great One. Han decides to test the goblin, and he asks him if the ring on his finger is the wedding ring. The question catches the goblin off guard, but he manages to recover and mentions how he spent his 10 years' worth of salary to buy the ring. Han smiles when he hears this, but suddenly hits the goblin with what appears to be the truth. He tells the goblin that he is quite the actor. The goblin feigns ignorance, but Han lets him know that he recognizes the ring on his finger as the one Kubalt wears. In addition to that, Han came into the city unknown to anybody, but the goblin was the first person to mention his extraordinary aura. After detailing all of his reasons, the goblin smiles, and the disguise wears off, revealing that he truly is Kubalt. Kubalt is impressed with what Han just did, and he mentions that he has heard stories of his greatness. Kubalt suspects that Han is in the city because of the recent incident going on around Valpurgis. Han admits that this is the reason he is in the city, and he wants to believe that Kubalt has a clue. Kubalt confesses that he has useful information that he can use, but there are conditions to be fulfilled. Han already expected this from Kubalt, because Kubalt is someone who likes to know everything about everyone. Han is already expecting Kubalt to say something crazy until he suddenly asks Han to be his friend. Without hesitation, Han agrees to the deal. Kubalt reveals that Han might not know it yet, but he is about to become the center of attention to everyone. He was able to defeat Hejaz, and in addition to this, he has close ties with Valpurgis. Kubalt knows that allying himself with Han is going to be greatly beneficial to him. Han then asks Kubalt how he plans to define the friendship that he wants from him. Kubalt then hands him a communication ring, which he can use to reach him anywhere and anytime. Han is left in total darkness as he fails to get a read on Kubalt. Since they are friends already, Kubalt lets Han know that he has information that might interest him. Apparently, the clue to the information lies in Han's home capital of Dresden. Han immediately makes his way to Dresden, and by using the SS rank skill, Majesty of the Great Leader, he easily commands respect and fear from the guards at the gate. He freely enters, and just by strolling through the streets, people fall to his greatness. He then makes his way to the Belia Trading Company, and a servant runs to the company to tell her boss that there is someone with a terrifying aura heading straight for them. Han soon arrives at the door, crippling the girl with his presence. Even the big boss, Belia, is terrified at Han's presence, asking him how he made it into the company. Han then tells Belia that he is just there to make a deal with him. Before coming to Dresden, Kubalt had told him the information that he needed. He tells him that the Belia Trading Company and the Reiter Knight family have a debt relationship between them. Han was shocked when he learned of this, since it was his first time. Han is as impressed as ever because Kubalt's knowledge of the affairs of the world is unrivaled. Apart from the information Kubalt gave him, he gave him something else to sweeten the deal. It turns out that Belia's daughter, Marin, is bedridden. Belia takes Han to the room where his daughter is lying, and he explains to him that his daughter was once a cheerful and happy soul. Suddenly she started losing her strength, and she fell unconscious. Since then, several famous doctors on the continent have come to check her, but there has been no improvement in her health. Belia is worried that his daughter will eventually die since there is no one who can help her. Just then, Han tells him that there is something that can help her. In no time, Belia is bawling his eyes out, begging Han to please help his daughter. Han then tells Belia that he came to make a deal because of his daughter's condition. He touches Marin's head, saying the girl's condition is very critical. He checks out the symptoms on her body and reveals that ordinary medicine will not help the girl. Han then mentions that there is a way to actually cure the illness. Belia immediately demands to know what the cure is, and Han replies that it is Grossglockner. Han says they are going to need an elixir from a place called Grossglockner. Belia immediately falls into despair when he hears this, since Han is basically saying his daughter is as good as a dead person. Apparently, Grossglockner is a place known as the home of the impossible in this world. It is the Dragon Canyon, located in the southeast of the Empire, and it houses the dragon, Teufel. Teufel is one of the few ancient dragons left, and it is considered very powerful. It is so deadly that even demon kings avoid the dragon. Inside the dragon are countless demonic beasts under the dragon's rule. This makes it a place where demons and humans will prefer not to ever go. However, Han, being the risk-taker that he is prepared to go. He assures Belia that he will go, and by activating one of his acting skills, he manages to get through to Belia. Belia begs Han not to go, but Han reminds Belia that his daughter needs help, which is why it is important that he goes. Han tells Belia to take care of Marin because she currently needs her father's love. Belia starts crying, and he asks Han what he wants him to do. Han replies that he doesn't want too much from him. Han then mentions the debt relationship between Belia and the writers. Han tells Belia that he wants to take over the debt relationship. Belia is shocked to hear this, but Han quickly moves into overdrive, telling Belia that he needs to do this for his beloved daughter to live. Marin's happy moments flash through Belia's head, and he remembers his daughter's smile. Because of how much he loves his daughter, he is forced to accept the deal. Once the deal is accepted, Han makes his way to the Dragon Canyon. He finds herbs in the surroundings and decides to try it out. Instead of testing it out himself, he shows it to his horse. He picks the herb, and once the horse smells it, he enters the Cloud9 state. In no time, the horse gobbles it up while Han pats it on the head. Han tells the horse that they are in a dangerous place, but he is assured that they are safe since he has put his minions at the entrance to guard the place and prevent humans from entering. In addition to this, the dragon's mana affects everything in the canyon, which in turn makes everything, including the herbs, valuable and expensive. Han packs some sand and throws them in the air, talking about how everything in the canyon can bring him money. He is happy that he will save Belia's daughter and at the same time make cool money. Just then, he pulls some of the herbs and eats them. Suddenly, a rock hits him on the back of his head. Han turns around to see an army of scary goblins, urging him to leave the canyon because it is their land. Well guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, comment part 2 in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and like the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.